We have heard that our favorite idols are nothing like they appear. Their cute personality is just a tool to attract mass audiences. But only very rare times we have actually seen what they are really like and what they hide behind that fake personality. This time it's NCT's Taeil, the idol who once was loved by everyone, ended up receiving 7 years in prison sentence, in which many are saying that the punishment is not enough. Let's see how it all began. On the 13th of June, 2024, three men met a woman at a bar. Although they were likely strangers, they drank together. Soon after, the men forced her into a taxi and took her to one of their homes. The woman, intoxicated and unconscious, was by the three men. This was the story that took the world by storm, not because of the acts committed or the manner of the crimes, but by one of the three perpetrators. This is the story of Taeil Moon, vocalist of NCT 127's rise to fame and downfall. Taeil Moon was born on June 14, 1994, in Seoul, South Korea. He was something of a musical prodigy, getting accepted to the Applied Music program of Hanyang University in 2013, one of the most competitive early admission programs in the country. However, at the ripe age of 19, Taeil decided to not enroll after being accepted as a trainee in SM Entertainment. In 2015, Taeil was introduced as a member in SM Entertainment's pre-debut training team. In 2016, Taeil released the song Because of You as a soundtrack for the TV series The Merchant Gaiksu 2015. The official debut of Taeil in the subgroup of NCTU, was on April 9, 2016 with the release of the single Without You. Later on, Taeil made his debut in NCT 127, a second subunit of NCT, with the release of the EP NCT number 127 on July 7th. Taeil's fame just started to rise after that, with collaborations with other SM artists like Yesang, Sunny, Luna, Wendy, Seulgi, and Doyoung, and foreign artists like the pianist Steve Barakat and rapper Lil Boy. Contributing to his rise in fame, Taeil made several soundtracks for famous K-dramas, collaborating with Taeyong and Doyoung for School 2017, releasing the backtrack Stay in My Life. Collaborating once again with Doyoung, they released the song Radio Romance as a soundtrack for Radio Romance, and Timeless with both Doyoung and Jaeon as an NCTU single. On December 13th, Taeil, Doyoung, Jaeon, and Haechon released the NCTU single Coming Home, an SM Station collaboration with UNICEF. The song reached number 7 on the Billboard World Digital Song Sales chart. On July 6th, Taeil launched an Instagram account and broke the Guinness World Record for fastest time to reach 1 million followers on Instagram. So this brings the real question of how can fans that went from saying, I hope Taeil knows he's carrying the whole music industry even with such of an amount of screen time. Taeil is seriously the best human being ever, period. Taeil is the absolute cutest, most wonderful being. He is so precious the way he says he has the moon and the sun in him in a single space. Absolutely devastating cuteness. Plus, I love him. 2, his eyes are so dead and blank. Is that unsettling to anyone else? That good voice just got wasted on him. As an exen, I just can't even see his face. It just breaks me and makes me feel so stupid. I just hope the court does its job and justice prevails. Netizens started to initially notice the scandal from SM Entertainment's vague announcement stating that they had recently found out about Taeil's alleged part in the case. They said they looked into the situation, but the severity of the case left them with no choice but to expel Taeil's activities in NCT. They claimed that this was a joint decision between them and Taeil. They continue saying that he was fully cooperating with the police. This would be proved to be not completely true during his coming up questioning. In the end, they apologized for the distress and concern Taeil had caused. Along with this sudden announcement, fans started to notice other NCT members removing him from their lives. They all started to unfollow him, deleting any pictures they had with him, and Taeil's Instagram following reduced drastically. But what does this case entail? On June 13, 2024, at around 2:30 in the morning, Taeil Moon and 2 of his friends who have been reported under the name Mr. Lee and Mr. Hong due to South Korea's strict privacy laws, met a Chinese woman, Miss A, at a bar and had drinks with her in an Itaewon bar. Between 4 to 4:30 a.m., they allegedly forced her into a taxi to one of their houses and proceeded to G-word her. Prosecutors uncovered disturbing text messages exchanged between the men before and after the incident, revealing this was not a spur-of-the-moment crime, but a well-thought-out plan. Text correspondence between Taeil and his 2 accomplices revealed discussions about the victim's nationality, is she Chinese, and explicitly plotting GPS tampering, should we disable location to evade detection. Investigators retrieved CCTV footage and GPS data showing the victim and defendants being transported from Itaewon to a residence in Bangbei-dong during early morning hours, approximately 2:30 to to 4:30 a.m. The taxi's irregular route, reportedly altered mid-journey, raised suspicions of intent to obscure the crime scene, with text reading, "Take a taxi and get her out. Make it look like it happened somewhere else." Medical tests confirmed the victim was severely intoxicated and unconscious, legally incapacitated and unable to provide consent. These results formed the factual basis for quasi charges under Korean law. Article 299, quasi by compulsion, states,
A person who has intercourse with a female or commits an indecent act on another by taking advantage of the other's condition of unconsciousness or inability to resist.
implying that in other circumstances a victim should resist a sexual assault until overcome by the perpetrator's superior force. With such evidence reported in, the victim reported the incident in June 2024 to the Bangnae police. Soon after, the police sought arrest warrants for the three perpetrators. However, the court rejected their requests, stating the suspect's admission of the crime and determining that detention was unnecessary. This stark rejection angered netizens and sparked talks about the clear industry bias. 2 months after the initial reporting, in August 2024, the three men were called for questioning. Taeil's accomplices complied with the investigators, however. Unlike SM Entertainment's statement, Taeil wasn't completely cooperating. Taeil failed to appear, citing health issues. Instead, he submitted a medical certificate and a legal opinion from his lawyer, effectively delaying the process. However, regardless of Taeil's desperate attempts to escape the law, he was formally charged in February 2025. Almost a year later, on June 2025, Taeil and the two others admitted to the act, and prosecutors demanded a 7-year sentence and 10-year probation each. Taeil's first appearance in public since last August was caught by court reporters. He was seen wearing all black, a mask covering his face, his head held low, covering most of his face. Providing a statement to the court, Taeil reportedly said, "I most deeply regret and feel sorry for the harm I caused the victim. I also apologize to everyone who was disappointed in me. If given leniency, I will consider it my last chance in life and do my best to contribute to society in any way I can." Following his statement, the defense put forth arguments to provide for Taeil. They said Taeil's lawyers emphasized that he submitted a surrender letter to the police, asserting that he didn't resist arrest and cooperated with authorities. They also expressed a financial settlement passed between them and Miss A, who then allegedly said she would not want to pursue legal punishment. Defense noted Taeil's public apology, attendance in a violence prevention program, ongoing psychological counseling, and part-time work to support himself and family, all presented as evidence of sincere remorse. They argued that the incident was not pre-planned but an impulsive situation fueled by alcohol. Quote, "He had no intention of committing the crime and only planned to drink more after leaving the bar," end quote. They mentioned personal and family struggles. Taeil lost his career, his mother reportedly left her job due to stress, and he now works part-time at a restaurant, underlining emotional and financial consequences. They stressed that this was his first offense with no past legal incidents, reinforcing a plea for leniency. However, all these arguments were rebutted by the prosecutor. The court was told the surrender letter came after police raids and seizure of phones, not before, meaning it didn't satisfy legal definitions for true voluntary confession. They argued that the settlement occurred only after investigation began, possibly under pressure, weakening its weight as a factor for leniency. Prosecutors pointed to chat logs where defendants discussed taking the victim to another location in a taxi and using her foreign nationality to disable identification. If they truly were only going back after drinking, the 42-minute trip from Itaewon to Bangbae wouldn't be the ideal choice. These were cited to establish deliberate concealment and intent. Prosecutors stressed this was a assault on a victim who was heavily intoxicated and unconscious, categorizing the act as heinous and morally reprehensible. Prosecutors argued Taeil's remorse was undermined by premeditation, late confession, and a calculated plea, diminishing their authenticity. Under the Special Act crime, the sentencing for a crime involving multiple offenders and an incapacitated victim is a minimum of 7 years in prison. The longer the case went, the more that was revealed in court, the more disturbed and disgusted netizens and fans seemed to become. Many believe Taeil and the other two targeted Miss A because she was a foreigner. Many assume they thought that due to her being a foreigner, she would be less likely to report the crime or be taken seriously by authorities. Netizens noticed at the defense's constant mentioning of Miss A's nationality, leading many to believe that this was a strategy to imbue xenophobia. The live Taeil went on June 14th, the day after the crime and his birthday, where he was seen smiling, talking to his fans, and playing the piano. He complained about not having a proper party because his schedule was not fixed. not remorseful or apologetic, which he so desperately tried to appear in court. What makes it even worse is 2 months after the crime, Taeil attended a fan meeting for the 8th anniversary of NCT 127 debut. Talks of Taeil's pressuring and intimidating the victim to settle surfaced by netizens, which would contribute to the defense's mention of the legal process of the settlement being a difficult and strenuous one. Some believed there was a fourth person involved. This theory was fueled by the blurry and cropped CCTV footage proved by the police and witness statements. Netizens believe that this could also be the reason for the initial arrest warrant's rejection and suppression of further evidence to protect a prominent figure in the K-pop world. Many imply the revelation of Taeil and his crimes are simply a front for deeper industry crimes. This implication states that Taeil is used as a scapegoat to divert attention from larger scandals. This is compared to cases like the Nth Room, Burning Sun scandal, and deepfake porn. Judgment on the trial passed by netizens indicate a less fruitful outcome of this case. Due to the nature of the crime, the sentencing should be 7 years minimum. However, factors such as Taeil's admission of guilt early on, victim settlement, and non-punishment request needs to be determined by court whether it was given under duress or not. A first-time offender with no prior criminal record, his completion of rehabilitation effort, and signs of remorse in court taken into consideration could give the worst-case scenario of 3 years and 6 months in prison. Taeil and the 2 other offenders. Sentencing is to be held on July 10th, 2025. Stay tuned for further updates on the case, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to the channel and let me know what you think about this case in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one.